Welcome to episode 243, Balancing Being a Parent and High Performer with Nike trainer Betina Gozo Shimonek. Welcome to the Be That 1% podcast. I'm your host, James Silvis, mindset specialist and performance coach. And here on the show, I'm going to challenge you to think deeper, commit to greatness, and develop a stronger mindset. You'll hear stories from those who are living life on their terms, and you'll receive strategies that will help you level up. So the question is, are you ready to be your own 1%? Let's get started. All right, everybody, welcome back to the Be That 1% podcast. Today, I am beaming with joy because I get to connect again with one of my favorite people, Betina Gozo. Betina Shimonek now, because you're married and you have a beautiful daughter, Aluna, and another baby on the way. So soon to be mother too.
I feel like our lives are parallel in that way.
It is in a lot of ways. It's so cool. And what we're going to be talking about today is even more in parallel. So I'm excited to jump in. But for those of you who do not know how amazing Betina is, let me just give you a quick little rap sheet on who she is. She's a health and wellness expert with a specialization in strength training. She's a former Apple Fitness Plus trainer, one of the founding trainers. She is a Nike global trainer, philanthropist, does work all over the world, especially in Kenya. And she's just an amazing heart-centered leader who does her best to serve in the most powerful ways. And anytime I get to connect with her and or work with her, it's always a joy, and super, super blessed. So welcome back to the show, Betina.
Oh, thank you, James. Thank you. That was a wonderful intro. I wish I just had you in my pocket all the time, like my hype man, to remind me of all the things.
Always.
I love.
Yeah. So you've been on a pretty amazing journey the last couple of years. I've been watching, obviously, and we've stayed in contact through it all. And one of which is you now stepping on into traveling more as a parent and the adventures of just what parenthood brings. And I want to soak up all of the wisdom and insights that you've been experiencing over the last couple of years, because I feel like a lot of people, especially in the way the work structure has been like readjusted with COVID and everything, that there are a lot more challenges that we didn't face pre-COVID that we now have, especially for parents. And you and I, being that we travel so much, like I'm curious how you've been handling it, what you've been going through. And so I'll throw the ball to you here and see just kind of where you want to take that parenthood, business owner, like all that.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because, before I was working with Apple Fitness Plus, I was traveling all over the place. And I felt like I had it down. I was doing this, I was doing that. And, I felt so free, and it was kind of fun. It was one of those things that was exhilarating for me to be able to travel all the time. And then COVID happened, and, we were all stuck at home. And I, fortunately enough, had a very good COVID situation where I started dating somebody and we fell in love and then literally made a baby and, and got married. And COVID had taught a lot of people many different things, but it really taught me how to feel good in where you are, no matter where you are, whether it's your home, the space that you're in, the people that you're with, and who you are at the end of the day. And, once we had Aluna, it gave us a whole new sense of purpose. And for the first year of having Aluna, I had the Apple Fitness Plus gig, and I was living in Los Angeles. So I didn't have to travel. I got to go to work, and I would miss her terribly. And then I would come home, and I was happy to be there home with her. But then now I'm in Texas, and I have all these contracts with these different brands, and most of them aren't here in Texas. In fact, all of them are not here in Texas. So I'm either, making the content on my own, or I'm traveling to the jobs. And, that's been really challenging because, it's especially when they're this young, it's like you blink and they've done something different. You're like, when did you learn that? You're a whole new little person. And so it's been one of those things where I've had to take that meditation and mindfulness practice to just be like very okay with, okay, I'm doing this job for Aluna and for our family long term, and just know that it's okay. It's part of the whole journey of her and me and doing things together. Like, she's going to change while I'm gone, and that's fine. I'm very grateful that we have technology. I tell Nick and I tell grandma to make sure, or Momo is what we call her, to make sure that they're filming every single little thing, even if it's just her sleeping. I want to see it all. And yeah, it's so great to have that FaceTime where you can connect. And it's so hard though. But at the same time, it's so nice to be able to wake up in the morning and not have to worry about a baby.
Right. It is. It really is. And it also, you kind of feel a little bit bad for me. I like leaving Aiden with Amanda, because I'm like, damn, I know how hard that is. Right. And so like having to manage that is a bit challenging, but I do hear what you're saying. Like, you better sleep for the most part, and just more bandwidth.
Yes.
Throughout the day.
Exactly. And it's the thing that I've always said is like, service is so important to me, but you should always service yourself first. And, that time away is always so refreshing, even if I miss her and I miss my husband, but I know that I'm able to do something for myself. I can recharge, but then I'm also doing something that's serving others. So it gives me another sense of purpose, and it helps me get into that mindset of, okay, it's okay that I'm going to miss all these things, but it's just a different, you just have to shift your mindset around it, right?
You do. And this is something that I've come to the conclusion of too, is like, people will ask me, don't you like wish that you spent more time at home, or do you like that you travel so much? And here's what I've come to understand. By me traveling and impacting other people around this world, that actually makes me a better father and a better husband. And yes, there is a sacrifice to that, but it also allows me to be more present when I am with my family, and I can bring the passion and the love that I have for my work into my family, and they both like dance with one another. It's not like this or that. It's a harmony between those two. And I'm fortunate enough, and I think you are too, we have spouses that understand the gift that we have, or the skills that we've cultivated, that allow us to go and impact people around the world. And although it is hard for Amanda to let me go sometimes, she also is like, I know the impact that you're going to create, and I understand that. So go do it.
I've like, always, I love when I see Amanda sharing, like when you're leaving and she's like, no, I'm just so happy that he's making the impact that he is. It just gives me goosebumps. And it's so rare to have that partner, especially when you have children. And, I feel like we're both so lucky to have that. And, Nick travels too. And it's the same thing. Like, I know that he's so excited to do what he does. And it's, you have to be there for each other. Like, that's really, really important. Like, I don't know how single parents do it. My mom was a single mom, and I still I'm like, it's hard with a partner, and it's hard with, we have occasional help. Nick's cousin watches Aluna, and it's like, I'm like, how?
Seriously, that's a conversation that Amanda and I have all the time. I'm like, I don't know what I would do. Like, I guess you would figure it out, but like, I can't even imagine what one day would be like, to have no family, no nanny, no funds to hire help. Like, it's all on you,
Oh my God.
Man, tough.
Yeah. My mom always reminds me of that. She's like, I remember I used to have to hire the cheapest babysitter, and I'd come home and I was like, she has scratches on her face. And I'm like, Mom, that's terrifying. Like, but that's all I could afford. Like, I couldn't afford like any other babysitter. And I had to work. I had to go to school. She just had to figure it out, and it's just, it gives you a whole new respect for the single moms. And even if you do have help, it's hard. It's like, it's a whole other level. And I also know a lot of moms that are stay-at-home moms and love it. I think that there's different types of people and different things that they what they want their day-to-day look like. I remember we met a lady a week ago at the pumpkin patch, and she's like, oh my gosh, I could stay at home all day and just play, and I would just hire someone else to go do all the chores in the house. And I used to think that I would be that way. Like before we had a Luna, I was like, oh, I'll just hire someone to just clean the house. But now, like, I'm like, go play with the Luna for a little bit. I want to wash the dishes and just be by myself.
Yeah.
You know,
it's like a form of meditation now.
It really is.
That's
It's
awesome. What are you what are you noticing about your parenthood, your parenting style, and like how your mom taught you certain things? Like how much awareness are you having around like catching yourself with like, oh gosh, I'm being my mom right now, or that's where I get it from? Like, do you just see that in a different way now?
Yeah. You know, the one thing that I actually am very cognizant of and changing is my mom, I think because she was one of 7 and also had, you know, she had to kind of figure things out on her own. Like her mom was the wife of the mayor, you know, of their town. And like whenever her dad passed away, her mom became the mayor, and she was the second youngest. So she was kind of like a fend for herself all the time, pretty much her whole life. And so she kind of raised me that way. And I love that she did it. She did that, but it was always like, you're fine, you're fine, you're fine, you're fine. Oh, pretend like everything's okay. You know, and I'm so much more aware of that with Aluna. Like now I want Aluna to acknowledge her feelings. I want her to, if she's upset, like I want to talk about it, you know, even though she's not able to actually verbally speak about it, I want her to know that we care. And I know that it was never because my mom didn't care. It was more like because she was taught to just be like, okay, everything's fine. Everything's fine. And so I'm definitely more aware of that, but I also want to make sure I'm not like coddling her. Because I feel like because I'm so aware of how my mom was, I'm like trying to go the hyper opposite. But it's good to have Nick because he's very, he's good at making sure that I'm not coddling her too much, because he'll just be like, she's okay. She's fine.
Yeah.
Like, we can acknowledge her feelings, but she's okay.
Right. Yeah. It's got to have that balance, right?
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, there's a few things. But I do want to make sure that, you know, my mom was always like, you know, kind of let me be independent and do all the things that I wanted to do. And I think that's why I've always kind of been a jack of all trades, because I'm, you know, my attention span's very short. So I want to do this, I want to do that, do this. But I love that Nick is very disciplined. You know, he played football at such a high level. And I think that there's going to be an interesting way when we get older, or whenever Aluna gets older, to see like who's like, okay, well, she needs to, you know, make sure she's strict on this and where I'm going to be like, oh, she can play piano. She can do this, she can do that, you know? So I'm interested to see how that translates as she gets older. But yeah, we'll see. Cause I know I'm the artsy one and Nick is obviously the athletic one, in that way. So we'll see.
Yeah, that's cool. What would you say are some strategies that are helping you manage your time, your energy with all of the responsibilities that you have? I mean, I don't know how often you're traveling. It seems like it's 2-3 times a month at minimum.
Yeah.
But so what strategies do you have in place? What systems are you creating that you've had to create? Because like literally only 24 hours, right? Like how do we leverage this? How do we maximize time?
Oh, it's such a challenge, and I'm still figuring it out. And I think that's something that I want to be very honest with myself, is that I'm having to come to the reality of, oh, okay, like Betina, get to work. Like, you know, I can find myself like wanting to relax on the couch as soon as the babysitter gets here, so I can just have that 5 minutes to myself or 10 minutes to myself. But I tell myself, okay, you have that 5 to 10 minutes, but once you're done with that, you have your system. You have to go, like I have my notebook that says all the things I need to do for the day, but I try to block out time. You know, I listen to a lot of the Huberman Lab. I love his episode on the focus. So I try to go for no more than 90 minutes of like really focused work. On a good day, I'll have 2 of those sessions, but that's on a really good day. But I'm very happy if I have a 90-minute session. So that's the biggest thing for me, has been like, okay, it's going to take me a little bit to warm up. I need that 5 to 10 minutes to like do whatever on my phone, check Instagram, make my coffee, and then sit on my computer for 5 to 10 minutes, check my email, get all the things that I know, like all the clutter away,
Mm-hmm.
and then say, okay, this is the time for it to go away. And then now I need to focus in.
Mm-hmm.
And I definitely was one of those people for a long time. I was putting the most ridiculous things on my to-do list just to make myself feel good to check them off. But it actually worked. I was like, oh, okay, feed the dogs. Well, you got to do that every day. But, stuff like that. It's so silly, but it actually helped me feel more accomplished. So I'm very big on celebrating small wins. So if I can kind of motivate myself in that way, that's the way I have to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the challenges that I face is like working from home. And I think you're detached from the house. So that I'm sure that definitely helps. My office is like right by the living room. And so when I'm like in my like brainstorming sessions or content creation or research mode, like I have to have noise cancellation headphones to even remotely focus on the task. And could I go somewhere? Yeah, but I also like the flexibility of like once I'm done with my work, I just walk out my door and see my son and Amanda, So that's a hard part. And he knows I'm in here because he can hear my voice. And so there's a desire that he wants to come in. I obviously want to say hi. So it's like really having to block out time and communicate to Amanda, like, hey, I'm going to be in this session for this time and this time. If you could either go upstairs in the loft or if you're going to watch something, like keep the volume down if you can, like just really communicating my needs so that I can still get work done at a high level despite external distraction.
Yeah.
Do you experience something similar and how do you go about communicating that?
Yeah. It's, we are detached. So that's very helpful. My biggest distraction is honestly the dogs. The dogs are, they're always out here and they're very expressive. And I feel like when they start barking, I'm like, hey, jump out, yelling out. And I'm actually surprised we haven't heard them yet. Maybe we haven't. I'm getting better at drowning them out. I usually have a little bit of music that's just very like the chill hop version of just stuff hanging out in the background, just so that's what I'm focused in on.
Mm-hmm.
It's with Nick, I have to say, because sometimes he's in the gym, which is not too far. He'll just like pop over once in a while, but I'll have to set that boundary. Say, hey, I'm going to be in a meeting for the next hour, or hey, I need to go work on my book for the next hour. Like it'd be best if you just kind of stay out. And we respect that boundary with each other. And that's very important.
That's good. That's good. How's your sleep?
Oh my gosh. I am so good on my sleep. It's like the one thing that I do have right now. I have been so good and I'm so grateful, especially having a toddler. We put her down 7:30 to 8 o'clock at night, and then Nick and I will hang out and watch TV or relax or do whatever. And but when it comes time to my wind down routine, like I'm very good. Like I have my brain dump. I think that's something that everybody should do, because even last night I didn't do it, and I actually woke up in the middle of the night like, oh, like I had all these things that I was thinking about. But I usually just journal for 15 to 20 minutes, and I have to do that because that is where like I put all the thoughts in my head away, and like I just can go into dreamland, But yeah, and that's the one thing that's pretty consistent with me, is the brain dump. When I travel, it actually stinks, because if I forget my eye mask, that's the worst, because I can see the little in a hotel, if there's like that little light from the alarm, I'll see it through my eyelids.
That's how my wife is. She's like, any little light.
Oh, I see it through my eyelids when I'm sleeping. So I actually sleep best at home, even though we have a toddler. She sleeps almost till 7:30 to 8 o'clock in the morning. So
that's so nice.
Aiden
goes to bed at like 9, and sometimes he'll get up at 6. I'm just like, dude.
No,
yeah. So
like,
it makes it. Yeah, it makes it hard, because it's like I'm gonna get up early. I'm gonna sit in the sauna. And then like, you have your flow that you think is going to happen. And then all of a sudden, here we are, 6 a.m. Yeah. And I'm like, Well, there goes that, right? And so what I've learned is like there's your ideal schedule of like how if your morning went like this would be the perfect day, but then you also have to be prepared for none of that to be able to happen. And what are your quick like 5 to 10 minute routines or habits that can snap you into high performance thinking or being to still get the job done? Because people are going to somewhat be empathetic and compassionate to the fact that you have kids, but at the end of the day, they're hiring you for a reason, right?
Yeah.
You have a job to perform. You have an outcome that you need to get. You have a result that you need to create. And the older I've gotten, the less I've been like dedicated to my morning having to go a certain way. It's more so like I need these small staples, whether that's breathing for a certain way, like,
Oh yeah.
and it's just for a minute, and that'll be enough.
Or
right, or just some jumping jacks, or a 10-minute walk around the hotel before first session, like something usually centered around breath or movement is enough to get me to where I need to go outside of like the sauna, the workouts, all that stuff.
Yes. I love that. My non-negotiable is always going outside and being in the sun for 5 to 10 minutes. And if that means I have to do it with Aluna, even better,
Right.
so she gets her sun too.
Right. Yeah. And I don't know what 2 is going to be like. So we'll have to get on here again and talk about that. But I'm so nervous.
Me too. Sometimes I sit there and like, Nick wants like 10 kids. And I'm like, first off, I'm getting old. I can't do that. Second, I don't think we have enough money for 10 kids. But people figure it out,
They do.
But the energy, it's just like, I think it's how, I think y'all are the same, like how involved we want to be with our kids. It's like, if we want 10 kids, there's only so much of us to go around,
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah.
Have there been any books or anything that you've read on having 2 kids or how to introduce
it's interesting because I get that question a lot. And they're like, what books, or new parents reach out to me, like, what books would you recommend to get? And honestly, we've only read one. Well, okay. So we read one book before Aiden was born, and that was What to Expect When You're Expecting. That was like the big Bible mom book, right? That was super helpful for Amanda and also for me because I knew what she was going to go through. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to be here for that, be with her for that. And then I purposely didn't read any books because when I asked my friends what books they read, they're like, I read this book, but honestly, it didn't really even help me because my kid was totally different. And really, when I think about it, it just comes down to how mindful you are of where you're at mentally and emotionally when in certain situations. Like I'm super self-aware from all the work that I've done. So I know what I need in order to like have a certain level of presence and patience with Amanda or any situation. That's exacerbated when you have a child, but there was a base level of understanding of what I need from a very basic fundamental standpoint. And so as long as I have X amount of sleep, as long as I have these breathing exercises, as long as I can think this way, I'll find a way to make it work. So I didn't read a book all the way up until now. And then Amanda picked up a parenting book. I'm drawing a blank on the name, but it was some researcher that was just talking about better strategies for parenting. And we've been reading that and doing the exercises in that, every other night kind of thing. So that's been cool. I don't think it's a necessity, but I do think it can't hurt to load your toolbox with potential tools.
That's funny you say that because I feel like, I read a ton of books before, and it's funny because now this time around I'm like, I'll figure it out because you're so right. The common theme with all those books and just health and wellness in general is taking care of yourself. Everyone's always looking for that magic book or that that magic pill that's going to make life so much better. But it really is all about you taking care of yourself, not even just what you put in your body or what you do with it exercise wise, but how you take care of your mind, because that's going to help you with the way you react with your children, with the way you react with your spouse, with the way you treat yourself. Like that's just such a common theme.
Yeah. It's true. And also like a surrendering that you can't control it.
Mm-hmm.
That was the hardest thing and still is the hardest thing for me to wrestle with. It's like, I believe it should go this way.
Yeah.
And then it's the complete opposite. And like me having to calm myself down from the not meeting of the expectation.
Yeah.
And if you could get better at that, then parenting will be easier. Not easy, but definitely easier. You'll be more flexible. You'll be more understanding. You'll be more attentive. And I think you'll be more present because you're not overlaying the current moment with what you think it should be. You're actually seeing the moment for what it is and allows you to appreciate it for what it is. And then because you're appreciating it and understanding it more, you'll actually begin to predict where those moments will go. And that will help you better anticipate, what you're about to expect.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's been something that I've been working on.
Well, yeah, it's wild because even now, Luna's only 16 months and she's already, like, everyone's talking about these terrible twos. I feel like she's already getting like
yeah,
this girl will just slam her head in the ground and go, "Wah!" And then look up at me and be like, "Okay, cracker." I'm like, what?
I know. Yeah, Aiden will do the headbutting thing too. I'm like, how is that? Why are you doing that? Like, what's the motive?
And I think not even the pediatrician, but I recently had surgery on my wrist, and the orthopedic doctor was telling me, she was like, "Yeah, I feel like the age that your daughter's at was actually for me the hardest because they can't communicate what it is they want, so they just cry and they get upset." But you're right. You just have to be like, okay, like literally just sit there. Okay.
Yeah. And you learn different dialects of tones, right? Like, oh, that's a fake cry. That's a serious cry. That's like a achy cry. That's a tired cry for sure. That's a hunger cry. It's like, oh my gosh, you just learn so many subtleties of language. It's insane.
It's so funny. I'm so curious to see how different Aiden will be from baby number 2, and same with Aluna and baby number 2. It's just
same.
You just hear that like you can do one thing for the one child and the second one's completely different. So everything you think is.
How has being a mom? Well, so as we're like on that with you and Nick, what date night or strategies have you implemented, or like you time with both of you, right? Because that's huge, especially with how much you're giving to all of your clients and all the places you're traveling, plus like you wanting to be present for Luna. It's natural. When I don't say it's natural, maybe it's easy to kind of like forget that. Because it's like, well, they can handle their own. I gotta attend to my baby, right? What are you guys practicing, or what are you noticing within that area?
Yeah, it's kind of cheesy, but the one thing that we're, because we don't get a ton of alone time, we just get that 7:30 and on to 9:00 or whatever,
right.
Because we get that early. But we try to show Aluna how much we love each other all the time. Like we get those moments where we just hug each other and like kiss each other, big hugs, and then like, but have those moments in front of her. And she just like, I love seeing her watch us do that because she's so loving with us. And I think it's because of that. And, Nick and I are very verbal in front of her. And that, that's not the one-on-one time, but that's something that we've really been proud of because we, and I didn't really have that great of an example of love growing up because my mom was a single mom and, but Nick did. And I think that's where I'm learning a lot of this from, his parents, even till this day. Like I see the way his mom or his dad treats his mom, and it's amazing. It makes sense why Nick is the way he is.
Yeah.
But as far as the, the one-on-one time, like, we have that 7:30 to 9:00, but even during the day when we have someone here to watch Aluna, like we just hang out in the gym, the workouts together. Like I know that's his love language. Like he wants quality time with me. And when I can work out with him, even if it's 20 minutes, like I know it will make his whole entire day. So being pregnant, Betina, like I don't really love working out right now, but I'll do it because I know it's good for me. But I know how important that time is for him. So I'm going to do it, and I know that Nick knows how important it is for me to have the time with him, like even just at the end of the day, to just sit on the couch and not even say anything or do anything. Like we both have quality time as our love languages, but we like them in different ways. His is working
Yeah.
out, his is me just sitting on the couch. So we just know how important that is. And we have had to make sure we're communicating that to each other, because I mean, you have to have that communication no matter what.
Yeah. Yeah. I was thinking about this the other day, like before, and I want to get your thoughts on this, because I'm with the frame that I'm going with this is like, for someone who wants to be a parent, who isn't currently a parent, right? Maybe at that stage, like maybe I'm ready. What the question is, what would you tell them about that you think they may not know, that you think they should think about before having a child, right? And so if I think about that question, I think, and everyone's gonna have their own philosophy, right? But for me, what I think has helped Amanda and I is that, and this can happen at different age groups, but we've had a lot of life together, right? So it was me, and then it was Amanda, and then it was James and Amanda. But it was James and Amanda for a while.
Yeah.
We traveled, we did things, we experienced life, we got to understand what that was like. We supported each other in different business ventures, and just found our love first, and then had a baby. Right. So we had our own like energy signature of like what it felt like and the memories that were associated to us. And then it was like, then the family came. Now that's a different version of us, an upgraded version of us. And we're more willing to go there because for us, we established that time together initially. So I think that would be like one thing that I would point out is like, do you feel that you and your significant other have that bond of like, we know what this love is, we appreciate this love, and we've done a lot together, and we feel good about that? Because I think that's a huge part that not a lot of people think about. They rush into it.
100%. And it's funny because Nick and I haven't been together very long. And even before we had a Luna, we weren't together very long. But when we first got together, like it was very clear that where we were headed, and as far as our goals and what we wanted as a family, like we even said, like, we want kids soon. Like I remember thinking to myself, I'm 35, or at the time I was 34. And I was thinking, okay, I might freeze my eggs soon because I don't know if I'm going to find a partner that's going to want kids anytime soon. And I was very realistic with that. But whenever I first started dating Nick, I was very clear with like, hey, I'm not saying like today, but like, you know, it's something that I want in the near future. And I know you're a little bit younger than me, but I just want you to know if like, that's not in your future in the next 5 years, then I don't really want to pursue this relationship. And he was like, no, I want kids in the next 5 years. Like that's something that's very, very much in my future. And so we were both very clear on what we wanted as far as our families go. And it just made it such an easier decision whenever we were like, okay, let's start trying. So I think that's a big one, because I think a lot of people, especially when it comes to dating, you weren't very clear with what you want because you just want that other person to like you.
Yes.
And you're scared, you know, and I know like Mark Groves is amazing at all of that stuff. Is like just talking about like people are just always hiding behind these masks and like thinking that they need to be a different person. But, you know, I was very clear in what I want and he was very clear in what he wanted. And we even said like, we don't want it right away, but it just so happened to happen right away. Because we were like, okay, I heard that it took a long time. So we're like, okay, let's just try this. And, you know, we were very blessed and had a Luna right away. But I think the biggest thing, again, it comes down to communication and being very, very clear in what you want in your life in the future.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. How has being a parent made you maybe better or more effective at your work?
I think it's brought a new level of empathy.
Yeah.
And not even in just everyday life, you know, like as far as planning or whenever anyone's late, but like in fitness specifically, you know, I think the way I would talk to a prenatal, or not even prenatal was way different, because I feel like there's this delicacy of pregnancy that people are always so careful of. But postpartum, I feel like as a woman with strength training, I would have talked to a postpartum mother way differently than 5 years ago than I would now. And not even with just the education that I got, but just like actually going through it. You just know that there's just so much more healing, not even just physically, but mentally. And I think that a lot of women, even a year later, or even 2 years later, still are dealing with some of that postpartum depression, or, the changes in their body. Like I meet so many women who have 2-year-olds and they're still like, oh, I still pee myself when I'm laughing and whatever. And, it sounds funny and I still giggle at that too, but it's not normal, like it's normal, but like you need to do something about it. You need to have a pelvic floor doctor. And so there are a lot of things in that way that I've learned, because postpartum for me, I was peeing myself every time I did anything. And I was like, hey, you should do something about this. Like I just thought for sure I would, have a Luna, and then like 6 weeks later, I'd be totally back to normal, and so there's that different sense of empathy for postpartum women, for sure.
How about the conviction or the confidence or the resilience or the strength that maybe you bring to the work too? Because I know I have noticed that in a lot of ways. I don't know, but I don't want to speak for you.
I feel like I'm invincible now. Like being a mom just makes your parents it's just different. I feel like even my confidence has changed. I don't know. I didn't think that I would be a mom in the next 2 years from the last time. I think the last time we chatted, I didn't know that I was going to be a mom this soon, but I just feel like there's so many things that I could do. And then even now, like trying to watch a Luna and write a book and travel and do all of these and be a wife and take care of 3 huge dogs that each weigh in total over 350 pounds. It's like, I really feel like I can do anything. And it's been a privilege and an honor to be able to show a lot of women that they can do that. That's one thing that I've always told myself, is when I'm sharing anything on social, I want to like share it in a way to show that women that, hey, in reality, I'm struggling at times, but guess what? You totally can do this, and I don't know. And I think it's cheesy, but the Filipinos, I just want to show all the Filipino women in the world, like, look what I'm doing. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Doing it as a mom.
It's possible.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. So yeah, tell me about the book. What inspired it? How far along are you what is it teaching you?
Oh my gosh. This book. It's fun. It's very
like
fun.
Another child.
Oh my gosh. It's funny because I actually was offered the contract a year ago, but with Apple, there was a lot of back and forth on whether I could do it or not. And then finally we settled on it earlier this year. And it's a women's strength training book. And, I had one that I released with Women's Health magazine, but it's definitely not as intricate as this one. This is like, this one's going to be pretty in depth, but there's not, it's not even just the content itself. Is just like also working with the publisher. Like there are some parameters that we're working with, and like, there's so many photos and so many this and that. And so just little like guidelines, they're very flexible, but it's been challenging because I just have to like focus in. And I'm like, I keep telling myself, this is the book that I wish that I had when I first started training. And I want to make sure it's good. Like I want to make sure that it's serving Betina when she first became a trainer, and Sally who wants to be a trainer, or, Amanda who has never worked out before and wants to start working out. Like there's so many people that I have in my mind when I'm writing this book that I want to make sure that I'm serving all of them, but I also have to kind of let go a little bit and just know that no matter what happens, it's going to be great. And it's just like, you just feel so passionate about making sure it's serving the right people and all the people that you want to be helped.
Right. And one day you're like, this is, I'm really loving what I'm writing here. And then you go back and read it the next day and you're like, oh, what was I even thinking?
Oh my gosh, yes, all the time. And it's so funny because I'm going through that now, because there are some chapters that I wrote earlier this year and I was reviewing them and I was like, what? huh? And then I'm like changing it. Like, no. Like the publisher already read this. Like they said that it was good. Like, why am I changing it?
Yeah.
So it's been a journey, and I don't know. It's like I've always said that I wanted to write something like this, but I'm like, oh my gosh. But I know I'm going to be so proud once it's actually published. It's actually due in a month, but it won't release until November next year.
Dang.
So we got some time.
Ooh, well, I'm excited for you. Keep it up. I know that you have so much wisdom in that mind of yours that that so many people would benefit from. So I'm glad that you're doing that. I'm actually in the process, very elementary process of writing a book. That's like one of my goals to finish by
I've been
next year.
waiting for that. I've been waiting for this book from you.
No, I know, me too. Yeah. And I'm wrestling between two ideas, but I have all the contacts. I have the content. It's just a matter of documenting and actually putting it on paper.
Yeah.
So
are you going to share with what those ideas are? You're still
yeah. One of them is listening. Like listening. Just the book would be all about listening and strategies to be a better listener. Because I think that's one of the struggles that I see in society is that we don't listen. We think we listen, but we don't listen to ourselves. And partly because we don't listen to ourselves, we can't listen to other people because we're just so concerned with how we're being perceived or what other people are thinking that we're out of the moment. So it's like, if we can learn to listen truly, then we're connecting to the moment, which means we're present. And that means we're giving the best gift that I think we can give other people, which is our time, our attention. And if parents can be better listeners to their children, if bosses can be better listeners towards their employees, if presidents can be better listeners to their countries, if countries could be better listeners to to other countries, I mean, we would have deeper levels of understanding. I don't think that would solve everything, but it definitely would be a huge dent. You know, so that's one. The other is find your center, or something around being centered in pressure and in uncertainty. Like, how do you hold that line? That I have more content on my documents with that. The listening has been a recent like inspiration based off struggles that I see constantly. So
I think both of them are great ideas.
Thank you.
It's funny, the listening one, I was just thinking to myself, like, I'm so like, you know me, I'm like this little pent up ball of energy, and I'm always like, what's next? And you just have this energy about you that makes me want to be a better listener. Because even just in this past 45 minutes that we've been talking, like I found myself like wanting to be like, oh, yeah. But then I'm just drawn into how you say it and your energy, because you're so good at being so present. It makes other people feel that want to be as present. So thank you for that. That's a gift. There are not many people that I know that are like that. So that's something I've always really appreciated about you.
I appreciate that. I hear that. I receive that. Honored. And yeah, if I could codify elements of that to bring it to the world, then that's what I feel is a responsibility of mine. So to hear you say that gives me more inspiration. So I'm gonna.
I think you need to write both of them. You need to write both.
Part 1, part 2. Okay. There we go. My goals for the next 2 years.
Brain explodes. And
man, there we go. That's awesome. I know that you've also started your own community, Line Up With Us, along with Nick. Tell us a little bit about that, how that came about, what you're seeing there, and what that's teaching you also. Yeah.
So with Line Up With Us is actually a relaunch, because we kind of toyed with it 2 years ago when during the pandemic, and we had a few other people on our team, and we kind of, I don't want to say we wanted to be bigger than it is. We just had these bigger ideas that I think we were overthinking. Typical statement. And when Nick and I have been discussing Line Up With Us and like what kind of content I should release now that I'm no longer with Apple Fitness Plus, I've just realized how many people are always looking to Nick and I for our daily routines, but looking for that performance aspect. Nick has such a amazing wealth of knowledge when it comes to performance training. And something that I think he does really well, and he doesn't even realize that he does it, is translates that into the every person so well. And so I wanted us to be able to have affordable, really great content for anybody that wants to work out and that wants anything that's more challenging than just the basic lead and follow workout that you might find on a basic app. I think those workouts are great, and that anyone that's brand new should definitely, be doing the Nike Training Club workouts with me and Apple Fitness Plus. But this kind of takes it to another level, but there's more content there. We have the pregnancy workouts they're doing them along with me. There's pregnancy workouts from the first trimester, and then now I'm doing all the second trimester. So these are real workouts that a pregnant woman is doing. And we just wanted to make performance training more accessible and more affordable for everybody. And also to make it fit into your everyday busy life, because, a lot of these programs that you see are like an hour and a half long workouts. And, we're parents now, like our workouts mine are never longer than 45 minutes.
I know.
That's a good workout if I got 45 minutes in.
Seriously, unless you're waking up at like 4 a.m. or like getting midnight workouts, like it's just, and you want to be present for your children, like it's 45 minutes is about right.
Yep. And we are lucky because we have the gym. So we bring a Luna into the gym, but it's chasing on the whole time. So it's like a 30-minute workout ends up being an hour because 20 of it is chasing Luna because she's doing this or she's climbing on something. And
yeah. Yeah, no, I get it. That's so we talked about presence a moment ago, right? Like that is my number one value. That's the thing that I try and be the best at in my own way, right? Well, when you have kids, it's like that gets fractured.
Yeah.
Very rarely are you going to have the undivided attention, right? And so that's the challenge that I've like been tasking myself with is like, can you still be present? And I don't know if it sounds like an oxymoron, but even with the distraction, like, can you be one with the distraction to the point where the distraction does not take you out of the moment, but you're still able to be in the moment? Like you bring it into the bubble. You know what I mean? Your capacity to hold multiple things at the same time enhances because of your surrender to the situation in a way. So I'm exploring that right now.
Me too.
Yeah. Yeah. So like the workouts, right? Like, oh, got to get 10 reps in. Oh, wait, Aluna. Oh, okay.
Even cooking, I used to think cooking was very therapeutic, but now it's like Aluna's like got one of those, those like helper things where she can, be at the counter, and she likes to climb on the countertop now. So I'll have like a big tray of vegetables about to like dump them into the thing, and she's climbing on the counter. And I'm like, it's like, yeah. And you just kind of have to be, like you said, just got okay with everything that's just happening.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. I'm glad that Line Up With Us is morphing with you. I think that's the most authentic way to do it, is like at different stages of life, you're in different seasons, right? And so it's not about trying to keep the same season. It's about recognizing that we do morph and we do adapt, and that's okay. And sometimes when you become a parent, you have this battle between who you used to be pre-parent before and who you are now. And that, depending on how much you fight that, is going to dictate how much peace you have, and there's nothing wrong. There's nothing bad about adding another element to who you are and thinking that that's somehow changing the core of who you are. I think the core is always there. I think we just have layers that we put on the outside that convince us that we're not who we used to be. I think we're always who we are. We just allow distractions to blind us from it.
Wow, that just gave me goosebumps, because I feel like that is the thing that a lot of parents struggle with, is trying to be who they were before they were kids or had kids. And again, you have that part of you that you always are, but like you have a new life now, and it's okay. Right. That's totally okay. That new layer is beautiful, and it's just about finding that common theme of who you were before and like who you are now with your child and your partner.
Yes. And it's a maturation process, right? Like that
Mhm.
you evolve. It forces you to evolve. And so the more you surrender to that evolution, the easier it's going to be on yourself. The easier you're going to make it on yourself.
Mhm.
And every parent goes through it. I just think some get through it quicker because of
That's
how
true.
they think, you know?
So true.
So yeah. What else do you think is important for maybe current parents or soon to be parents that you wish you would have known or we haven't talked about yet that you think is valuable to mention for maybe just an overall quality of life, more energy, or any just being more present for life?
Yeah, I mean, number one, I think that you can listen to all the advice from everybody, but you're going to know what's best for your kid and what's best for you, no matter what. And like, no kid is the same. That's what I'm learning is like, I listen to all my friends, all the things about all of the toys, all of the, all the things that I needed and all the things to do for sleep and this and that, and what all the guidelines say, but in your heart, like what's good for your kid. That's like the number one thing. The number two thing, you just have to take care of yourself overall. Like that's just it sounds so simple, but you have to prioritize that. And like, but you have to control what you can control. Like for me, like the nighttime routine is what I know I can control because Aluna's asleep at 7:30 and she can go and she's there. And then like, I can spend that time for myself in the evening, but the morning, I'm probably not gonna be able to control that. Like you said, you don't know if Hayden's gonna wake up at 6 or maybe at 7. And so I have to just be okay with like the morning just kind of going wherever. So controlling what you can control and letting go of the things that are gonna happen is another big one.
Yeah. Yeah. That's amazing. What are you grateful or yeah, what are you grateful for that Nick has shown you from just like a father figure that you're like, man, I never saw that aspect of him, but now that I see it, I just respect it even more.
He is one of the most patient people I've ever met. But I feel like his level of patience has shown so much more having Aluna. And it's not even just like with her, but like with me when I get overwhelmed, and like he just knows, like he's just always been one of those people that like if something is happening, he'll just like, all right, let's figure out what we need to do and let's just make it happen. Like he never has that, like you never see panic from Nick. And I don't know if that's just the quarterback in him.
Maybe.
But he's just always like super level, like no matter what. And it's funny because for me, I feel like sometimes that makes me more like, you should be panicking. What's happening? But he levels me, and I think that's what's really beautiful is just seeing that discipline that he has in his sport and the position that he played come into, parenthood. He's always like, all right, let's figure it out. What do we need to do? Okay. And he's not talking about it. He's just figuring it out in his head and he's going to do it. So that's been pretty cool to watch.
What have you changed any of your diet being a mom, having like less meals, maybe where you sit down, it's more on the go? Have you shifted to lighter meals more often? Like, have you changed anything there?
I think for the most part, we try to have our all 3 meals with Aluna, like breakfast, lunch. Lunch is usually like she's usually eating by herself while I'm like trying to do stuff, and because like I usually eat like my real lunch when she goes down. But being pregnant now, no, I'm definitely eating like smaller meals multiple times a day because I mean, I can't just sit here and eat like a full meal right now. Like I feel like I need little ones. I don't know if Amanda's the same, but it's hard to eat.
It's all over the place. Sometimes she'll eat a big meal and then she won't be hungry for like 8 hours.
Yeah.
It just kind of depends.
Yeah. I've been big on snacks lately.
What's your go-to snack?
Annie's fruit snacks. Those are supposed to be for Aluna, but I love them.
You're like, I'm getting these for Luna, not for me.
I know. It's funny because I traveled with her by myself last week, and it was the first time that I had traveled with her without breastfeeding, because breastfeeding is the easiest thing when traveling with babies. You just go boom, and then they're out.
Yeah.
And I mean, anytime they're just panicking, it was just easy. So I was a little nervous. So I had like a whole bag of snacks. Like this was absurd. But it was just funny because like as soon as like Aluna kind of knocked out, I was like, "Ooh, I'm gonna eat the fruit snacks." I have to.
That's one of the things that's like cool about having a kid is like you get to be a kid again. Like it's acceptable to be a kid again, you know?
Oh, the amount of goldfish that I've eaten in the past 6 months.
Goldfish, Disney movies, you name it.
Oh, she's obsessed with Moana right now. Like it's a bit like scary how obsessed she is.
Yeah.
When she wakes
Same.
up, as soon as she wakes up, Moana. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's how Aiden is with Toy Story.
Toy Story.
Yeah, I know. I've seen all of them probably like 25 times.
Wow.
I can tell you just about whatever. I could tell you my favorite one, which is the third one.
Hey, at least there's multiple ones.
Yeah, that's true. I got to fluctuate between which ones I know less, right? That's so funny. No, it's been fun. It's been a journey, and I am scared, nervous, and also excited for number 2. And so stay tuned on that.
You all are going to be great, and I know it.
Thank you.
So excited.
So where can everyone? What's the best place for people to find you and connect with you to learn more about lining up with us and maybe even the stuff you're creating around mentoring trainers?
Yeah, I'm Betina Gozo Shimonek by my legal name, but on Instagram and everything, you can find me at Betina Gozo, Betina Gozo. That's my handle, and then also my website, and that has all my information for Line Up With Us, ways that you can train with me. If you're interested in picking my brain, all the stuff is on there too.
Okay. And last question is, what is a recent philosophy that you either practice daily or that you're constantly circulating your mind?
If you can't change it, change the way you look at it. That's really the big thing. I've always been a big advocate of that. Like, if you don't like something, change it. If you don't, if you can't change it, you got to change the way you look at it. That just perspective is everything. And I think that goes with parenthood, the way things go with certain jobs and just anything.
Awesome. Betina, as always, I love you. I love Nick. I love Aluna. Love all you guys. Thank you so much for being you, for the energy you bring to the world, and for the impact you're making all over the world. I mean, you're not a Nike global trainer by coincidence. Like your impact is global and it's felt, and just continue to do the work.
Thank you.